Tuesday, the Celtics begin the next chapter, the next title chase. Can't call it a defense. They are raising the banner, so we're going to preview the season. Spoiler alert, I think they're going to be good. Let's talk about it right now on the Lockdown Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on NASA. Karalis on the breakdown. Clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Lockdown Celtics podcast right here on the Lockdown Podcast Network. It is your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday. Plus this week, a bonus podcast. The Celtics play on Saturday. So on Sunday, you'll have a podcast to listen to and watch. You do not have to watch the Patriots. Just watch the podcast 4 times. It'll be better than whatever happens on the football field. I promise you that. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section. I am John Karalis. I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years now, and I'm doing it as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple of books. You can buy Built Different, the celebration of Banner 18 on my website, johnkaralis.com. Signed, personalized, and delivered to your door. And also a new thing, we're launching a newsletter. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter, Lockdown Celtics Daily. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Lockdown Celtics newsletter. All right, let's get to the business at hand. Oh, well, the business at hand is today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKDOWNNBA for $20 off your first purchase. This is the Tuesday show. Tuesday night, the Boston Celtics raise their banner. They get their rings. They are celebrating a championship and then going out and trying to win the next championship. Game 1 of 82. So we're going to preview it. And to do so, I am bringing on the host of the other new thing that we're doing, the Lockdown Celtics Postcast, Steve Lennox. Steve, welcome aboard. Welcome to Lockdown.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, John.
Well,
and by the way, just real quick, congrats on everything that you're doing here. I mean, I know you've been part of Locked On for a long time. The book, everything, outstanding. And the way you do things, I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you so much. That is exactly the reason why I had you on. So more of that, please. Steve has been doing what we're doing now on Locked On Celtics for Locked On Red Sox, the Locked On Red Sox postcast. So for people, before we get into this conversation with Steve, so you know, after a Celtics game, so right after the game tomorrow night, Steve, you're going to fire up the podcast machine. You are going to give us an immediate full reaction podcast while I am in the back talking to Joe and all the players. And then after I'm done with my writing for Boston Sports Journal, I come out and I give my take, with some extra perspective from the players and whatnot. So fans get your podcast right away, right here on this audio feed and on Locked On Sports Boston YouTube feed. And then as normal, my podcast shows up for you in the morning. So Steve, just give us a little bit about yourself so people can get to know who you are.
Right. So with the Red Sox, Locked On Red Sox postcast, and Locked On started these really in the spring and summer with the baseball season with the postcast. And we started in June with the Red Sox stuff. So we started Phillies and Yankees coming to Fenway and the Red Sox sort of teetering. Now, I was a guy, July, August, and deep into September, believed that the Red Sox should be a postseason team in the American League. I really did, right up until it was over and they were mathematically eliminated. But, with everything, as you've built, we built during the course of the season with Locked On Red Sox postcast. I've covered baseball in a lot of different ways. I've covered baseball as a minor league announcer over the years. I've covered baseball through ESPN, studio host, MLB play-by-play, college baseball on ESPN TV, basketball side for years, covering Quinnipiac University and the MAC. I do their ESPN Plus stuff. So like you said, and it's going to be interesting, basketball, a lot, a buzzer beater. I think we're still on within 5 to 8 minutes after the game is over. There's a couple of things that we have to do, pre-production, to put those together, and then we're on. And as we built our Locked On Red Sox postcast audience, John, probably early August, I should say. So it took about 6 weeks where we started getting repeat people coming back, which is what Locked On want, which is what we want, and we will slowly build with the Celtics as well. But this is for the fan, and this is for them to come out and, hey, if we're leaving the game tomorrow night, one way or another. What did I like about the celebration? Hit it from a lot of different angles. I had an at-bat of the night and a couple other little tidbits that I would do for each show. People started giving us their own at-bat. It wasn't just a Rafi Devers 3-run home run. Maybe it was Yoshida hitting, getting a base hit to extend an inning with 2 outs and 2 strikes or something like that. And people started to play around with it. So this will be a slow build, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be good, because this is if there's one thing that fans were missing is, you watch a game, you watch the post-game show, and then you're like, okay, now what? And we're going to have that now what? You can listen to a Locked On reaction podcast, which will be you, and then you can go to sleep, and you wake up in the morning and you pop me on when you're taking a shower or when you're in the car or you're at work, whatever it is. And it's the same routine every other way. You're just getting added content and reaction. So that's going to be exciting. It's one more thing that we're doing here. So between the newsletter, between Postcast, between everything, it's like, stick with Locked On, because we got you covered with everything.
And your listeners and your viewers on the Locked On Celtics YouTube channel, when people reach out to you and participate in your show and they say, John, this guy is nuts. This guy is out of his mind. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I have thick skin. It's okay. We'll learn together. We'll agree to disagree on occasion.
So, okay. So open invitation. Insult Steve in the comment section.
There you go.
You're already insulting me. Insult Steve while you're at it. No, it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, so that's the introduction. Let's everybody go check Steve out. You see his Twitter handle, Lennox on baseball. There,
I do have hoops, but we don't have to worry about that. At Lennox on hoops, it's my secret account. There you go. It's not my burner account. It's my secret account. So when I go to the basketball stuff this time of the year, and during the summer months, I keep Lennox on hoops too.
That's great. So check them out. Check out Locked On Postcast. But you're going to stick around here as we get into this Celtics season preview, which is honestly like, they're going to be good. And these are all the reasons why they're going to be good. So let's take a second. Let's catch our breath, and then we'll come back and we'll officially preview this upcoming Boston Celtics season in just a second here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can go to America's #1 sports book and get a big return this season, because all you got to do is place your first $5 bet and you get $200 in bonus bets. If you haven't gone to FanDuel.com to sign up, go ahead and do so. The Celtics are favored by 5 against the New York Knicks on Tuesday night. Do you like that? Do you think they're going to blow them out? You can take the Celtics. You think the Celtics are going to get star-crossed by the banner and the rings and maybe stumble out of the gates? Bet against them. That's fine. Whichever way you do it, doesn't matter. It's guaranteed $200 in bonus bets after your first $5 bet. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, if you want to wait, you can go right to that page where you place your bets, check out the latest stats, check out the play-by-play, and so much more right there. Again, FanDuel.com. Use the tools that they have. Make sure you're setting your limits. Make sure you're setting your budget. We don't want you to go overboard. We want you to take your disposable income, whatever you want to bet that week, that month, whatever. Set your limits there. Gamble responsibly at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out Locked On NBA next. It's your second listen, and I'm hosting on Fridays now. We're doing Fridays this season. Me and Jake Madison from Locked On Pelicans. We've moved, but it's still the same fun coverage all week long, rotating hosts all week long, covering all the games. And I think we're going to be going to seven games a week, 7 days a week, because the NBA plays every day. So check out Locked On NBA, excuse me, wherever you get this podcast. All right, let's get into this season, this upcoming Celtics season, which, Steve, I've looked at it every single way I can. I don't see any regression from the Celtics. I don't see the championship hangover. I didn't see that in the preseason. I don't see, other than Kristaps Porzingis being out, but I don't see that being a problem. I have looked every way I can to try to find something to be overly concerned about, knowing that we can't predict the future and who knows what's going to happen in this first game that could change everything. But right now, I'm just looking at this team and I'm just like, they might be better than last year.
And I don't think anybody should be apologizing for that. I saw somebody predict 70 wins. I don't know that they need to chase 70 victories. There's going to be time where they take, they're going to mix and match here and have some days where, certain guys aren't in the lineup, and that's understandable. You mentioned Kristaps Porzingis. I covered the Mavericks from Bristol, Connecticut, pre and post game host years ago now. I think it was Porzingis. Might have been his next to final year, Luka's second year. And you just knew Porzingis was going down at some point in time. You take what you can get with him, and today's NBA, today's sports, you want him ready to go second half of the season, and it's not going to be at the turn of the calendar, but you want him late in the second half of the season, maybe with 20, 30 games left, and then you want him for the postseason. You want him for that run, and everyone seems to be content with that. He's always going to be, he's going to be banged up no matter what. He's just entering the season. Not ready to go. He was going to, he's probably going to be down late November, December, into January, somewhere in there anyway. That's his history. But like you said, don't apologize. This is going to be a terrific team. And I keep kind of going back, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I see Michael Jordan on the reels, the Facebook reels, or whatever videos I'm watching day to day. There's a chip on their shoulder. And that's the way Jordan, there's self-motivation here with this team. You're going to look at certain dates on the calendar, and you're just going to say, everyone's going to be up for that particular night. They're going to be ready to go and see if they blow out the opposing team in their building or even on the road. And I think right now as well, John, 6 out of the first 8 on the road, I think that could be a good thing because it's just basketball. You're on the road and it's basketball.
Let me throw out what, even as I'm formulating this thought in my head, I'm like, man, this sounds like such a homer take. But is it possible that maybe just the way you framed the Porzingis thing, that it's kind of a good thing that we're coming into the season with the Porzingis injury? Like, instead of coming in fully healthy and that I know he's going down at some point, just a matter of when, it's starting without him. And then even if he comes back optimistically at the beginning of December, there's still a ramp-up period, December, January, then the All-Star break. I don't know. Maybe there's like they have no choice but to slowly ramp him up. Right. And they've already gone to all the preparation. So it's not January when they're saying, okay, damn, Luke Cornett, they have the game plan anyway from last season. They know how to win without him. We've seen it last season. But there's always like a scramble mode. Right? Somebody hits the alarm. Somebody pulls the fire alarm. It's like, okay, even though we've done this drill a million times, the fire alarm is still going off. The adrenaline still goes up. But when you come in with the plan, knowing today we are doing plan B, it's almost like, this is actually, let's just do that first. And then hopefully that gives us enough runway later on that he can be healthier for longer.
And I don't know the exact year to year for Porzingis, but when he comes back, more often than not, he's back and he's back for good. It's not going to be something lingering or anything like that. At this point in time, hey, he knows he's injury prone. He knows how to come back. So when he's back and ready to go. Yes, he's going to have restricted minutes, things like that, certain planned days off, nights off, things like that as well. But Porzingis knows himself at this point in time. He's gone through this, and he does go through rehabs the right way. And to your point as well, starting at the beginning of the season, Rick Carlisle years ago in the pregame with the media, and at that point it was COVID and everybody was on Zoom. It wasn't a scrum in front of Rick Carlisle. And he finally just said, look, he's weeks away from even getting on the court. Please stop asking the questions. You sort of have a timetable right now. Understand it. Now, are Celtics media, are you going to do that? No, you're going to want updates as to where he's at. Probably, you mentioned over the weekend. They play Saturday. Okay, they play Saturday. What's the latest with Porzingis? Mm-hmm. We know that it's down the road at this point in time. We don't have to worry about that right now. He's still weeks away. Maybe even longer than that. But Carlisle sort of put an end to it in his own way. And it was a couple of weeks. And he finally said, hey, guys, you can ask me about Porzingis tonight. We finally have an update. So there's a lot of track record here. And Porzingis understands himself that if they're all working together and they're all on the same page, he doesn't always have, okay, well, he had a setback. No, in his rehabs in the past, he's been able to go from point A to point B to point C and end up playing regular season games and playing meaningful games.
So
that's glass half full. I know.
That's listen, this is a glass half full kind of team. And that's the funny thing about this team. And looking ahead to the season, again, like and I'm glad you said you don't have to apologize. It reminds me of the, asking Ime Udoka a few years ago about a tough way, like a couple of things went wrong and they still pulled it out. And he looked at me and said, listen, man, I'm never going to apologize for winning a game. And so it is going to be kind of like that with the Celtics team this year. Like Brad Stevens, I'm not going to apologize for putting together an elite basketball team. I'm not going to apologize for putting together a team full of guys that are so good and such quality people that, yes, they did have a great offseason, a great summer. I asked Al Horford about it on Monday. It's going to be weird, though, right? You're already putting in the rear view. And he laughed at me. Well, laughed about with the question I was asking. He's like, but we had a pretty good summer. It was a pretty good summer. And, now we're moving on. But it was short, but it was pretty good. So they did get a lot out of it. But we're not going to apologize for having the types of people, not just players, but people who understand, who buy what Joe Mazzulla is selling. And he's a maniac that we'll get to in a few minutes. But they buy it. They understand. They see it. And maybe it helps that Jayson Tatum had the Team USA experience. And maybe it helps that Jaylen Brown didn't even get to have a Team USA experience. Maybe all of that is helpful in a way. But what the Celtics have done is put together a great team of basketball players, a great team of people, and they understand the assignment. And it's the best way I can put it. They understand the assignment, and a concept that we've been toying around with. I'll throw this out to you. This could have gone two ways winning a championship. Inflate the egos to a point where the locker room gets way too crowded because everybody's head is too big, or lift the weight of expectations off of shoulders, and they come in this year playing free and confident. And it definitely seems to be the latter, because I don't see any inflated egos around this team.
And it's exactly what you want. And everything you said there from beginning to end and in the middle, 100%. Nobody can look at this and find issue right now. My MO is always bring a baseball point in. And I've been reading Terry Francona's book with Dan Shaughnessy, The Red Sox Years, and 2004 World Series title team to spring training 2005. Terry Francona put on weight because he was at all those chicken dinners, and he didn't say no to anything from the time they won the World Series to when he got to spring training. And basically he was driving from Pennsylvania, as he's done years and years, to spring training, whether Arizona or Florida. He got in the car and realized, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
How did you, Brad Stevens, we know, is 24 hours a day. I always compare him to Theo Epstein to a certain degree. And how did you just characterize Joe Mazzulla? Maniac. He's a morning, noon, and you got the first one. That's the hardest.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to repeat. Or defend or win a second straight, however you want to put it. But you got that first one. The hunger's there. The egos are set aside, understanding we're stronger together than we are individually. So those egos do get checked. And as you said, hey, USA basketball experience. Made it, didn't play. USA basketball experience. Didn't think I was good enough to go. Okay, Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr. There's one of those. Again, to Jordan, these guys understand that. That's how they mimic one of the greatest of understanding. And, think about the teams of the 80s. Hey, where they were at this point before the season. Everyone knows we're going to be there. That's the way this Celtics team is right now. Eastern Conference Finals, you go from there.
Yep. All right, let's talk about Joe, because Joe had some super interesting things to say at practice on Monday that really do apply here. as he always does. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. We talk about Joe Mazzulla and his mentality. It's an interesting way of thinking. Look, keeping your brain sharp involves sometimes talking things through and doing so with a therapist that you can click with and trust talking to. That's a very important kind of element to keeping yourself sharp. So it's tough to do. I know it's a tough thing. I have been through therapy. I know how hard it is to find somebody. I didn't have BetterHelp when I was going through all of that before. Now BetterHelp is here. I know I can go and get this done completely online. So I know that it is convenient. It is flexible. It is completely suited to my schedule. It can be suited to your schedule. You go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You fill out a questionnaire. You get 10% off your first month, by the way, but you fill out the questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist right away. So you don't have to go searching around near your house, near work, or whatever. If you don't click, doesn't matter. This is the most important part. You can switch therapists at any time, no additional charge. You can just switch until you find the person you click with, that you vibe with. Once you do, then the stuff really starts to be beneficial. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You get 10% off your first month. Talk through whatever you want. Personal stuff, relationship stuff, work stuff, whatever it is. Celtic stuff. Maybe they're driving you crazy and you like, I got to talk to somebody about this. That's perfectly fine. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Once again, remember that we have a newsletter that is launching right now. The first one has been published. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, LockedOnDaily.com to start your day with an all-new, all-free Locked On Celtics newsletter right in your inbox. All right, let's go to let's get Steve back here. And Joe Mazzulla was asked on Monday about pressure. Here's the pressure. You got everybody back. And in a Boston sports world, that's like you won the championship. You brought everybody back. You got to win again. And it feels like in sports world, that's just, man, that's a lot of pressure. Joe Mazzulla is not living in sports world. He lives in reality. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing because he said a lot and I can't read the whole quote, but he basically said, we're all going to be dead soon, so it doesn't matter. So whatever words you want to say, it doesn't impact me at all. I don't see it as pressure. We should be expected to win. I would be very upset if somebody came up to me and was like, yeah, I expect you to lose that game. But if we lose and somebody said, I expect you to win, I'd be like, yeah, that's what we signed up for. So that was the tone of what he said. And he said it twice because at the end, he's like, I don't care what you write about me. I don't care what you say about me. And he said in 40 years, which is really young, but like, I guess he's like, mid-70s. Well, maybe it's on point. He's like, none of you are invited to my funeral, so it doesn't matter. So, I mean, classic maniac Joe. And I say maniac in the most complimentary way I can, because I'm not shy about saying I love the way he thinks. I love the way that he's like, we do not exist in the world that you people in front of me and the people in radio and TV, I do not exist in this world that you're creating. You guys have to do it. I get it. I respect it, but I don't live there and I'm not letting my guys live there. And to me, that's the tone. That's where it all starts. And the more he can keep those guys in that space, the better it is for everybody.
But at some point during the course of this upcoming season, is he gonna have to play the bad cop? Is he gonna have to provide tough love? Is he gonna have to have that moment? And as we're saying along the lines, he's not gonna police this team. He's not gonna police this roster. These guys are gonna police themselves right now. They've almost earned that right with the championship. But if there's a point where he said, maybe it's something where it's dress code, or maybe it's a certain team rule to say, hey, so-and-so did this, you guys take care of it, or I have to. But the man's 36 years old. He's got an NBA title under his belt, not in Oklahoma City or San Antonio. Oklahoma City doesn't have one, but San Antonio. He's not Greg Popovich. But but he's a mind that is going to, as you said, he's going to think differently, and that could certainly pay off this year. But at some point in time, you and I, we're not playing the role of cynic here, but we're just saying at some point in time, they're going to win 60 games, right? They're going to win 60 or more games.
Somewhere in that range, yeah.
Somewhere in that range. And again, get through the opening round, get through the second round, get to the conference finals, and then all of a sudden, boom, to me, you get to the conference finals, and then, not that it's all bets off, but at that point, there's 4 left.
Yeah.
But right now, your expectation is to get to the NBA finals and win, what, number 19? Number 19.
I know. It's crazy.
Number 19. That's the expectation, and he's at the front of that. But at some point, again, getting back to that cynicism that we may have in the front of our minds or in the back, at some point during the year, he's gonna have to sort of be that old school head coach of look, or he just goes in the locker room and says, hey, right now, hey, we're 22-18 through our first 40. We should be better. Let's go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because we don't know what's going to happen, right? You would expect through the first 40 that it's going to be more like 30-10 if it is 10, right? And people, yep. I'm sure somebody listening is going to be like, man, 40-0, 38-2,
38-2, perfect at home.
Yeah. So, and look, we just don't know, and we know what the expectations are. The one thing about Joe is he's never going to do it publicly. Whatever is that needs to be said, he has no problem saying it to his team, but he's never going to come to us and say it. If he ever does, it'd be interesting if he ever does.
And you know better than I, absolutely 100%. There's no knocking, there's no denying that. He says what he needs to say to them in the locker room or wherever in privacy. That stuff also doesn't get out.
Yeah.
As well. It's true. That's a big part of it too. So if something does get out this year, all of a sudden, maybe that's a little bit of a sign. But that stuff that he keeps it in house. It stays in house. That's rare.
That is rare. And that's what this team is. And this is why I'm so confident in this team. I've said it over and over again, but because this is the official season preview podcast, my confidence in this team is through the roof. I'm more confident. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say there's been nothing that shakes my confidence. As I was more confident, I'm more confident now than I was in last year's team that I said was going to go to the finals. So I'm super confident in this team's ability. They don't have weaknesses that other teams can exploit. We talk about, I haven't talked about the Knicks or the Sixers or any of these other teams because my stance is very similar on all of them. They all have at least one player on the floor at any time that the Celtics can be like, that's our target. The Celtics do not. The Celtics do not. You can be like, Luke Cornett is our target and be like, okay, sure, you can try that, but you're not going to get as far as you think because, first of all, he's better than you think. And second of all, they're just not going to panic if you're beating Luke Cornett. They're just going to sub somebody else in. Or they can make a little adjustment. So my confidence in this team is just super sky high.
Is there something to be said? And again, starting tomorrow night, I sort of am in the inside. I'll be there game in, game out. I will miss one or two here or there, not many. But is there something to be said that there's an understanding that this team that's going to start opening night, things are going to change for next season. You know what I mean? Of this we're getting this opportunity. They brought us back, but we understand the other side of this is the business side. Next year, there's going to be additions or subtractions. But this year, absolutely.
I think everybody is aware. I think they are not stupid. They even everybody has been in the NBA long enough on this team where they've just seen every year there's a change. What is happening to them this season is an exception. And even that, there's no O'Shea Brissett, there's no Svi Mikhailuk. There are a couple of new faces in there, but what they have this year is rare. It is the exception to the rule. They all know there are multiple guys in this locker room that are part of the Players Association. They're all aware of what the collective bargaining agreement says, what it does to these teams. They are aware of the team's financial situation. They also are aware that the team is up for sale. And even though I have my theories about it, somebody else can come in and things could change, and they could change quicker than you think. And so I think that only serves to heighten their focus, because there is no we'll get them next year. There is no extended run. This isn't like the Spurs, from a few years ago, where it's just, that even though, like, normally without this collective bargaining agreement, Jayson Tatum is 26, Jaylen Brown's 27. You're like, we've got 6-7 years of these guys. Like, we can figure it out for a long time. So pressure is really off. They know that next year something is going to change, and it's going to be something significant. So there's no room for, we'll just get them next time. There's focus, do everything you can to get it right. Understanding that it might still go wrong, but this is your year. This is the year that you have together. You've got to make the most of it, because you just don't know what's going to happen after it. Control what you can control. And if you do that, you're going to put yourself in a really good spot to go win this championship.
Who do you want to see them play in the finals?
Oh man, I'm always going to say like the Lakers, right? But that's not going to happen. I don't care. I don't care who it is. I mean, if it's Dallas again, that's cool. So, you could be like, told you, beat them 2 years in a row. That would be fun. OKC is the best team that, heading into the season. So I'm very happy to see them play OKC and kind of like go best versus best. But my approach is never about who I want them to play in particular. And it's a boring approach. I'm not good at this.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not good at this TV. Like, I got to come up and be like, these guys, I want these guys. Unless it's like the rival. Like, I would love it to be the Lakers again, because that's just always fun. I would love to see them beat Miami again, although I'm kind of sick of, them in the East. Anytime if they play the Knicks, that's always a fun. The Sixers, always fun. But, I just want to see them play great basketball, and whatever team's in front of them is the team they got to beat. That's all I care about. Do you have
Starts
a team
with the Knicks? I read today somebody had Oklahoma City, and you certainly can make the argument.
Makes sense.
It does, but it's almost, I feel like if it's Boston, OKC, then you had the true test in and I'd sign up for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's one of my favorites. That's not with the Celtics. But I don't see that. I think the Celtics almost, if it's OKC, they've had a harder time in the Eastern Conference. Then they get to the finals, and it's like, okay, maybe they win a game, but this is going to be over in 5. We're the veteran team. They're still young. They're here for the first time, wide-eyed. We know how to take care of this. 4-1, it's over. Sure.
How about Denver? I'll throw Denver out there as like, that was the team they were supposed to beat last. Like, that was supposed to be the finals last year.
Yep.
I don't know if Denver's going to make it, but if they make it, I mean, Jokic, if there's a team that is going to give the Celtics real problems, the Denver Nuggets with Jokic, that's the one team where you're like, oh, that's a tough matchup. And you need Porzingis for that one. But that's a tough one. That would be fun. Anybody will be fun. But I guess the official prediction is, of course, Banner 19. Of course, Banner 19. This team is built to win it, and they should go win it. So, all right, Steve, you look for Steve on the Postcast right after games. Are you going live on YouTube after that?
We go live, within minutes of the final buzzer, as we'll say with the basketball season. But I within 5 to 8 minutes. Baseball, home run, bottom of the 9th inning, you go into the 10th inning, whatever. You change things up. You got to move things around with our pre-production. But even a buzzer beater, you change a headline and you're on. So within minutes of the game going final, we start on Tuesday night.
So there you go. Within minutes on the YouTube page. Then that audio gets uploaded to the regular so the YouTube page is Locked On Sports Boston.
Yes.
It's a different YouTube page than this one. So Locked On Sports Boston, but the audio feed is the same. So if you just want to wait for the audio version, that's fine. You can get that here. And then my podcast drops as usual. Steve, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on, sharing this conversation here, and people go check out Steve and check out the Postcast. And I always appreciate everybody here listening, watching, and all of that. This podcast doesn't change. We're just giving you more. That's what we're about. We were just giving you another option, something more for you to enjoy the Celtics and enjoy it with us at the Locked On Podcast Network. So subscribe to Locked On Postcast on YouTube. You can subscribe to this audio feed. You get both. Hop onto the Locked On Celtics YouTube page. Go check that out and get into the comment section and share the podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter too. Share the podcast. Do all of that stuff. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching and reading the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.